welcome to another Talking Point. Now, today we are very lucky because we're going to be talking about a very hot topic at the moment, and that is, of course, property and property investments. So for today's talk, we're very lucky to have the founder of the Wealth Masters Club, Mr. Kurt Coetzee, joining us. So Kurt, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Damien. It's nice to be here.
Great stuff. Now, when it comes to property, you are probably seen as one of the gurus in South Africa because you've been investing in property for so many years and also teaching so many people how to invest in property. So I think the input you're going to give us is very valuable. But I'm just going to dive into the very first question now, just in terms of the effects of COVID over the last year and the turmoil that it has caused in the property market. Why are you still encouraging people to buy property now?
Yes, Damien, thank you. That's a good one. Because the problem normally is when we have a situation like we have at the moment, the recession after COVID or because of COVID, it's just like previous recessions. People always panic and then they want to get rid of their properties even. And the people who consider buying properties will postpone it now because no, the economy is not good. No, that's actually not how you should see property. What we now have is a buyer's market, one of the best in a long, long time. This is an excellent buyer's market. Now is the time to buy property.
Now, talking about buying property, I think a lot of us learned from our parents in terms of how they bought property many, many years ago, which was that you buy a property in your name, and then once you pass on, you leave it in your will for the children. So why do you feel that this system is flawed?
Well, the fact of the matter is, very few of us still own the properties of our forefathers. And that is because most people, if you buy a property in your personal name, it is part of your personal estate. And on death, the death taxes is devastating. Death taxes will take about 70% of everything that you have. It's not just taxes, the death cost and taxes. So yes, the thing is with a trust, we buy in a trust, and then you don't have any of those costs.
So Kurt, having been at a couple of your seminars before, I know you also share many different ways in which you can buy property. So not just, buying it in your name and then going that way. So what other options could you suggest for buying a property versus what we know?
Okay. Some people will buy a property in a company, or let me go a step back. Okay, we already established now you should not buy a property in your personal name because of all the death cost going with it, and then it's very unlikely that your children will ever inherit it. Right. So the other option then is to buy it in a company. That can work, but it all depends on who the shares of that company belongs to. If the shares belong to an individual again, then it is the same. The same cost will apply on death. It is death costs that will wipe it out. So what we recommend how you should buy property is buy it in a trust, in a property trust, a specialized property trust. We don't just use ordinary trust at Wealth Masters. So it's a specialized trust. It stood the test of time. We're already doing it like this since 1996. And so even if you do want to buy a property in a company, like for example, a commercial property might be better to have in a company and a residential property directly in a trust. But if you have your commercial property or whatever property in a company, then the shares of that company must belong to a family trust or to a trust. Because with the trust, having everything ending up in a trust, that is how we avoid all the tax and cost going with it.
Fantastic. And now, I also know that you talk quite a lot about different methods in which you can attain a property. So I think a lot of people know you go onto the market, you buy a property, and that's the way it's done. You register for a bond. But you also talk a little bit about other methods such as the ALA method. Could you just give us a little taster about what you mean with that?
Yes, it is not just the ALA method. Let me just quickly start with auctions. Anybody who is prepared to put in some effort now, any investor, can get nice bargains on sale of execution auctions, like the sheriff's auctions. I bought many properties on sheriff auctions in my life. You just have to do your homework properly. You should not just rush in and buy blindly. That is one place where you cannot buy blindly. There will be hidden costs, like, for example, taxes, rear taxes, and so on the property tax. There can be structural flaws in the property. So you must do your homework. But if you're prepared to put in some effort, you can get nice bargains on auction. But the easiest way to do it, if you don't want to do it the conventional way, is with the ALA method, as you mentioned. Now, ALA, we developed over the years. Since actually, I stumbled on the ALA method when I bought my very first house in 1983. I bought it with the ALA method. So what it means in short is you don't have to pay a deposit. You don't have to apply for a bond. You need a bond on it in a property. I'm talking now about properties that we need mortgages for. So you don't have to apply for the mortgage. You just take over the existing mortgage. So especially in a market that we are in at the moment, Damien, that is now the ideal opportunity to use the ALA method, because people are now in financial distress. I'm talking now about people who lost their jobs because of the recession, because of the COVID, because of the lockdown. Many people lost their jobs. Many people lost their businesses. So they are in financial distress at the moment. So if you can find now a financial distressed property and you make that owner an offer, because people like to put their properties on the market and sell it, but the problem with the recession is the market is not moving. Properties on the market is standing dead still. So the thing is, we have to come with a solution to that owner. So as I said, he's in financial distress, he or she, because they don't have income. And the biggest debt of any person in such a situation will always be the mortgage, the bond on the house. So if you can come with a solution, say, let me take over your bond. So we take over all the obligations, all the liabilities, but also all the benefits of that property. Yes, so there's a lot more to this now, to this concept, which I do not have time now to go into the detail here. So don't just rush out there and try and do this on your own. You're going to burn your fingers.
Now, you obviously gave us some nice teasers. How can we find out more?
Well, on our seminars and webinars, we talk in more detail about it. So that is a place to find more detail, or our online course where we also go into the detail. But for me, I think the best will be to attend one of our presentations. Then you will get more information, and if you really want, you'll get enough information to start moving on it and to start buying property. But if you want to know what is behind it all, then this is an online course. That is where you'll find most of the detail.
Kurt, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And I'm sure a lot of viewers are now very excited about the possibilities of investing. So I encourage you all to book for the free webinar on Saturday. I promise you will not regret it, and you will learn so much. Kurt, thank you so much.
Thank you, Damien.